All right, so welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about immigration updates. We want to provide what's sort of the latest news on the DACA policies and then go over some other immigration relief. And so I'm Jessica Viramontes, and I'm a staff attorney with CARECEN, the Central American Resource Center, and I work with Santa Monica College's Dream Resource Center.
Hello, everyone. My name is Irene Carvajal Perez, and I'm the legal assistant working with Jessica at CARECEN.
And Christina, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself in the Dream Resource Center as well. And
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Christina, and I'm the student services specialist for the DREAM program and one of the co-advisors for ideas and for our up and coming DREAM Resource Center. So thank you for joining us.
all right, and then a picture here is this year we actually have a legal fellow who is a student at Santa Monica College and is working in partnership with CARECEN. So her name is Yesenia. She's not on here today, so we just wanted you to make sure you got a quick glance on here. Third-year student at SMC, majoring in civil and environmental engineering. And the CARECEN email is listed on here. So she has office hours. So she kind of will work as a liaison that if you ever have any questions about setting up an appointment with CARECEN, or you want to talk to an attorney, you're kind of maybe intimidated about the process or want to first talk to her, she'll be a legal fellow that's assigned. On there you have the office hours are for Mondays and Wednesdays from 10 to 11. And she'll provide some additional support to all of you. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to say, Christina, about that.
No, I think you covered it. I just want to mention that her information is on our website, and I'll drop the website information in the chat.
All right. So I'll go ahead and pass it on to you, Irene.
Sounds good. Thank you. So CARECEN has 3 offices. We have an office located in Van Nuys, our main central office, which is also located in Los Angeles. And our 3rd office is located in San Bernardino. You can see to your left-hand side information in regards to addresses and phone numbers in the event that you ever need to get in contact with us. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about a CARECEN vision is for Los Angeles to become a place where all communities live in peace, dignity, and we're able to enjoy the economic well-being as well as social justice and political empowerment. In regards to the mission, CARECEN's missions originated in 1983. Since then, it has been empowering immigrants by defending human rights and civil rights, also by working for social and economic justice. And the CARECEN Legal Department provides direct legal representation to thousands of clients each year. And as you can see, we service anywhere from Los Angeles to Van Nuys and San Bernardino. So we try to be very accessible. I'll go on to the next slide. In regards to CARECEN Community College project service, CARECEN services 8 community colleges campuses out of the 65 community colleges that have been selected as host. We service students, staff, faculty. We provide free consultations on Mondays, and you can schedule an appointment by using Simply Book Me, which the link is available on the screen. These services as well are also offered to other community members, and we do have our current website, carecen.la.org, where you're also able to find out more information of the services we offer and how you can get in contact as well. I'll go on to the next slide. So in regards to the services that we offer at CARECEN, we have anywhere from family-based petition, survivors of violence that you may sometimes hear them referenced as U visas. We have also special immigrant juvenile statuses. It sometimes is referred in short acronym as STIGs. We also have TPS, which is often known as temporary protected status, citizenship, and DACA, advanced parole. We also do provide educational presentations like the one that we're presenting today to Santa Monica Community College. And we have questions, we answer questions on public charge. Presentations and legal updates, as you can see, are always available. We definitely do ask for students and faculty and staff if you always want some easy access to information to follow us on CARECEN_LA, or if you're interested in the portion of the community college, to do the CARECEN_LA_colleges. We do try to post information as soon, very often, very interactive, just to keep up with students. I'll go on to the next slide and I'll send it back to you, Jessica.
Okay, so we'll be talking a little bit about what's going on with DACA right now, especially on initial cases. So over the summer in July, we had a huge decision come out by the Texas District Court Judge, Judge Hanen, which was a lawsuit that was going to determine whether DACA was a valid program or not, right? Whether it was unlawful. Did President Obama have the authority to create the DACA program under an executive order? So as part of his decision, Judge Hanen ordered USCIS to stop processing initial DACA applications. So and essentially found that the DACA program is unlawful and that for right now, the initial DACA applications were not going to be granted after this date. They would they would be ceased to get processed until basically, until this order is appealed or overturned. And so this was obviously a bombshell for a lot of students who had already started their initial DACA applications, who had sent it out to USCIS. And so as of right now, only DACA renewals are being processed or approved. So DACA initial applications have stopped. And just so that folks know what this means, while Judge Hanen is only a judge in Texas, this order applies nationwide. So this isn't just for the state of Texas. So right now you can, let me go back. Whoops. You can submit your initial DACA application with USCIS and they will accept it, but they will not approve it. So we are, as CARECEN, are continuing to help students file initial DACA applications and send them to USCIS because they are accepting them, but they're not approving them. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means and does it benefit you to do that. So what does it mean for those who already submitted their DACA application? So if your initial DACA application was submitted to USCIS prior to July and it's still pending, it's going to remain pending while this order is in effect. So it's just going to show up pending when you go to the case status online. And it's just basically going to not get processed. It's just going to remain with that status. If you had a notice that said you had to appear for a biometrics appointment, which are your fingerprints, they are canceling those. So you do not attend your biometrics appointment. You should have gotten a cancellation notice for that. You no longer have to go. Now people have said, well, what if I paid the $495? What happens to my fees? So on July 27th, they announced that the fees would not be returned to applicants. So essentially they're going to hold on to those fees until this is decided, which at that point, then maybe the fees get returned or hopefully the applications would get processed. So if you have not filed for DACA and you are eligible, as I mentioned, USCIS will accept your initial DACA application. It's going to continue to process payments and it'll just get placed on hold. So what we recommend is definitely get screened by an immigration attorney so that we can look over to see if it's beneficial or risky for you to do that. For example, if you have criminal history or you have a prior removal order, it might be riskier for you to apply. We want to make sure, depending on what the case is, because your information is shared, it could be shared with ICE. And it's obviously the government has your information. So although they have said that it will not be used against you for deportation unless there's like a criminal background or, an issue of national security, it wouldn't be used against you. But we definitely ask that you consult with an attorney. For those of you who have renewals, you can go ahead and process them as usual. But sometimes those who have renewals, they forget to extend them or they let them expire and a year has lapsed since their last expiration. If you have done that, USCIS will consider it an initial DACA application. And so once again, you will not be able to renew it if you've let a year go by without having status. They'll consider that an initial DACA and it'll just remain pending. So please don't let your renewal application expire for that time. Be renewing on time. The recommended is 150 days prior, which is about 5 months. So make sure that you are looking at folks to looking with a nonprofit organizations to help you renew your DACA application. And so as I mentioned, current DACA recipients and renewals, those are unaffected by Judge Hannon's orders. They will continue to accept and process DACA renewal applications, and you can continue to apply for renewal. CARECEN can help you with your renewal application, and you do attend biometrics appointments. So you might have gotten a notice that said they're canceling biometrics appointments for initial DACA applications. That does not apply to you if you're renewing your DACA. The other really important thing to know right now is there is filing fee assistance for DACA applications. So definitely book an appointment with us and we can help fund the $495. There's funding through your school, there's funding through the mayor's office, there's funding through the state. So there's filing fee assistance available to help you pay for those $495. Okay, so what will that mean with Judge Hannon's order? They've stopped initial DACA applications. What does that mean for people who are waiting, right? Who are waiting to try to get a work permit, waiting to try to get DACA status. We know that there is going to be an appeals process. On immediately following the decision, President Biden issued a statement that they plan to appeal, and there has been an appeal filed. It's going to sit there. It may be months, it may be years. We've seen since 2016 that under President Trump, who tried to stop the DACA program, it's just been stuck in court battles. So that's 5 years ago, and that could continue, for a while. We really don't know what's going to happen with this program. So just to take a step back before this, just to know that is that obviously if there's any major decisions on the appeals of DACA, we will let you know immediately. But as of right now, an appeal's been filed and we don't know how long it's going to take if and when they overturn that decision. So the most recent proposed change to DACA came on September 28th. So a couple of weeks ago, the Department of Homeland Security published proposed regulations regarding DACA. And this is in efforts, what they say are following the directive that President Biden said he would preserve and fortify DACA. So just to outline, these are only proposals. It is not a rule yet. Under the rule, the eligibility requirement for DACA would remain the same. You had to have come to the US under the age of 16 and before 15 2007, and basically have been in the state since then. And so that will not change. There will be a few minor changes we'll talk about, but the eligibility requirements will not change. And so things that are positive is that it's going to reiterate that DACA does provide lawful presence. So while you have DACA status, you are not accruing unlawful presence. It also gives you eligibility for Social Security benefits. You get a Social Security card, you get a work permit. And then if you ever are eligible to apply for green card, like I said, you're not accruing that unlawful presence. Those who have DACA status are also eligible for advanced parole. So if you're wanting to travel outside of the US for urgent humanitarian or significant public benefit reasons, you can apply for that, which we can also help with. They have also stated, the Department of Homeland Security has also stated that information about DACA recipients and their family members that are in the DACA applications will not be shared with ICE or Customs and Border Patrol or law enforcement agencies for immigration related purposes. So like I said, there's the exceptions are if there's a fraudulent claim or an issue of national security or for prosecution of a crime, then at that point your information would be shared. So it's important that you first get screened by an immigration attorney so you see if it's beneficial for you to file. So then what are the changes to this proposed rule? The major change is that now if this is passed, you will be able to apply for your work permit, which is known as the employment authorization document, as optional. So we usually file a DACA application. We file two forms, which is the I-765 and the I-821. The I-765 is applying for your work permit, and the I-821D is really applying for your deferred action status. So instead of having to pay $495, you'll have the option of only having to pay $85 for requesting DACA if you do not want a work permit. If you do want the work permit, then it'll cost the $410, making it, again, the $495. So that is a proposed right now. It would basically essentially separate, like I said, the work permit from the deferred action status. So those that can't afford a work permit or those that don't want to apply for work permit and just want deferred action can only apply for one. USCIS will still have the discretion to terminate a person's DACA at any time with or without the issuance of a notice of intent to terminate, or if you're issued a notice to appear, it'll automatically be terminated. And one important change is that there are certain significant misdemeanors that ban you from getting DACA status. For example, a DUI or an issue of domestic violence might bar you from being eligible for DACA. So now DHS is proposing, let's clarify what is a significant misdemeanor that will actually equal a ban for this DACA program. So that's going to be important for us to see what comes out of it. So what does that mean? Right now, this does not affect initial DACA. They, people are saying, will this mean that now I can file my DACA with this new proposal? No, you still cannot apply for initial DACA. This does not change Judge Hannon's order. Until that order is in place, USCIS cannot process initial DACA requests. This is only applicable to DACA renewals if it is passed. So when will it pass? We don't know when the proposed rule will go into effect. Federal law does require that the government read and consider every unique comment before issuing the rule. So right now it is open for public comments. Our organization will be writing a comment about it. And so the comments are open until November 29th. So until after that date, we won't know if these proposed regulations will go into effect. All right, I know I said tons of information there. So just to kind of see what else is happening in sort of the larger scheme of things, is there's court battles with Judge Hannon's trying to overthrow it. What we ultimately need, we know, is congressional action. We know that these court orders to end DACA are essentially not going to go anywhere unless we get Congress to pass immigration reform, right? And so right now, the closest thing that we have that would be beneficial for Dreamers is the American Dream and Promise Act. So that has passed the US House of Representatives. It is sitting in the Senate. It would actually provide a path to citizenship to dreamers, which DACA does not do and falls short. The problem is that you need 60 votes in order to pass. And we only have 51 Democrats. So we would need 9 Republicans to vote in support of this. And that is a very, very difficult thing in this very divisive political climate that we're in. So what we have seen right here in August of this year, the US Senate passed a 3.5 trillion budget resolution that is sort of setting the stage to try to see if they can get immigration passed under budget reconciliation, because there you would only need a majority and you wouldn't need the supermajority of the 60 votes. So what they're trying to do is it will allow to avoid the Senate filibuster and pass, like I said, a simple majority. So this would hopefully be a blueprint to providing lawful permanent status for qualified immigrants. That unfortunately was overruled, that proposal in August. So there are still other proposals that are possible, but it's an uphill battle. This is what we see right now. If the American Dream Promise Act is passed, it needs a supermajority of 60 votes, which requires a super immense amount of advocacy, pressure to really put to be able to change it, because it doesn't look like the Democrats will be able to change it in their budget resolution. So I will get, I've seen a couple questions. I will get to those questions as soon as we get through this DACA, and then I'll get through some of those just to mention to people. So here are just FAQs to sort of wrap up the DACA conversation. Are there any benefits if I send in my initial DACA application to USCIS right now, since it can't be approved? So that's the one we're getting a lot. Well, if USCIS isn't approving and they're only accepting, why should I send it in? So we're saying for 2 reasons, send it in. So for one, we're asking people, send in your initial DACA application if you're not a high risk applicant, because if there is legislation changed or the appeal goes in and it's overturned, your application will be in and they will be pending. And so it'll be one of the first ones to get processed. That has happened before. And so you might get that gap of time where, like, let's say that it gets opened up for 6 weeks, 2 months at a time, and your application's already pending, that'll be one of the first ones to get processed. And so in that window, you might get your work permit. That would be one of the reasons. The second benefit is that if we're trying to get numbers. So we're trying to say, look, there are hundreds of thousands of pending applications sitting in USCIS. Congress, you need to do something. You can't just allow them to sit there. So if we have hundreds of thousands of them sitting there, we're able to make that stronger argument. So that would be the second benefit to why you should submit it, even though they're not approving them right now. How long will it take for official rulemaking? As I said, it could take months or even years to do that. Same thing for Congress. How long could it take? Right now, we have a Democratic majority in the Senate in terms of 51 to 49. Unfortunately, they use this rule that you need a supermajority, which is 60 votes. So because of that, we really need to change the laws of filibuster to try to get those overturned. And so another fear that people have is the government has my information now because I applied for DACA. Is there anything I should do? So as we said, the applications are just sitting there, but you were likely screened and you were found that you're not an enforcement priority. So you're not a high risk. The other thing is get screened because you might be eligible for other relief, which will be something Irene will talk about in a second. Judge Hainan did state also in his order that this order or any other company injunction requires Department of Homeland Security that neither this order or anything else requires immigration, deportation, or criminal action against any DACA recipient or any individual that it would not otherwise take. So that they're really saying this isn't out here for us to, for basically ICE, USCIS, the government to really seek out these deportation orders just because you now have given your information, unless you're an enforcement priority. By enforcement priority, prior serious, criminal prosecution or an issue of national security. So a prior remove order, something like that, that you might want to talk to an immigration attorney about.
I'll take it from here.
Okay.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, so the next slide is going to be about, I was applying for DACA. Do I have other options? So here the main takeaway will be always to get screened by CARECEN. We will ask many questions, but it will all be for the common purpose to see if there's something else that you may be eligible for. So you may be eligible for family-based petition, whether it's immediate relative, that is a legal permanent, lawfully permanent resident or a US citizen, or even maybe at times we do encounter U visa cases. Once more, this is in regards to survivor of violence. So victims or witnesses of qualifying crimes. Also something that is very common that we see within DACA applicants is in regards to special immigrant juvenile statuses. This means that if you're under 21 and you're raised by one or neither parents due to an abuse, neglect, or abandonment, you may qualify for SIGIS. Once more, as you're being screened by CARECEN, we will ask questions to determine to see if maybe you may qualify for one of these instances. You also see TPS, which it is temporary protective status. And there's other forms of relief as well that will be screening you if you are to come in and schedule that initial consultation with us through Simply Book Me. I can go on to the next slide. So when it comes to applying for DACA, the simple question is how to qualify for it, right? So there's several requirements, and I'll go one by one as we are here in the slide. So the first one is that you need to have come to the United States before reaching the age of your 16th birthday. In addition, another age requirement is that you're under the age of 31 as of June 15, 2012. In addition, you must show presence, and the presence in the United States on June 15th, 2012, with no lawful status. In addition, you have to have been continuously residing in the United States since June 15, 2007. And in order to be able to show presence, we will always work with you in regards to looking for creative ways that you can show presence. Many of the times we see that is by showing a report card, whether it's like from elementary, middle school, high school, also transcripts, but we can also get very creative in regards to pulling out receipts. Have you ever purchased something through a website that has given you a receipt, such like an Apple or Amazon? These are other ways that you're able to show your presence in the United States. And we're always able to help you to come up with these creative items to show presence. In addition, the next qualifying factor is your education. So it's in regards to currently, if you're currently in school, if you have graduated, if you have already obtained or completed your high school diploma or GED. These are other ways that you can also qualify for the education, as well as honorary discharge for veterans or the U.S. Armed Forces or the U.S. Coast Guard. And in regards to your background, we would once more screen you to make sure that there's no, you have not been convicted of a felony, any significant misdemeanors, 3 or more misdemeanors, and does not otherwise possess a threat to national security or public safety. So something to note at the very bottom, as you see bolded, is that applicants must be at least 15 years old to apply. If you're younger than 15, you must have previously been in removal or deportation proceedings or granted voluntary departure in order to be able to qualify. And lastly, because you guys are students from Santa Monica Community College, know that there's filing fee assistance available for DACA. And we will also talk on the next slide in regards to advanced parole that you guys are eligible to apply for. So in regards to advanced parole and DACA recipients, how do you qualify? Well, let me take it a step back. Advanced parole allows non-citizens to leave the United States and then lawfully re-enter the country without being turned away at a port of entry. Whether you decide to fly or go through land, at the moment that you're allowed to enter the United States if you have advanced parole. So on July 19, 2021, USCIS Acting Director Tracy Renaud issued a statement affirming that current DACA recipients may continue to request and receive advanced parole. This is another area that we currently assist students in regards to needing to leave the United States and come back in regards to advanced parole. I'll take the next slide. So in regards to how to qualify for advanced parole, DACA recipients can once again apply for permission to travel aboard and return to the United States through requesting advanced parole. And advanced parole is an application to USCIS, which allows an immigrant to travel outside and then return lawfully, giving you, the applicant, a valid entry to the United States. And that's always very significant. If later on you want to adjust your status, now you have a lawful entry into the United States. In order to fulfill this application, you must show one of the three items as to the reason why you're traveling outside of the United States. And this is where we see many humanitarian reasons, for example, as visiting a sick grandparent that is maybe very extremely ill. And that's the main one that tends to come up, in addition to educational reasons, employment and professional opportunities. But once more, in these three areas, we just have to get creative in regards to your application, in what category will best benefit you and your application, and how we can gather the documents needed in order for your advanced parole to be successful. Let's see. Yeah, I'll take the next slide. Oh, the next slide is the ending. So in regards to the legal services that we offer at CARECEN, it is very important for you guys to always schedule an appointment. Know that you guys can schedule an appointment through Simply Book Me. If you are a community member, not a staff, student, or faculty, but you would still like to get services from CARECEN, still schedule a Simply Book Me appointment through the same link. CARECEN is currently offering all service virtually, so you will have a simple interaction like the one today. And lastly, we always ask everyone if you guys can please follow us on Instagram. This is just a quick, easy way to stay up to inform in regards to new events that are coming out or just new information that is coming out quickly from the press. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Irene. Just to clarify one quick thing, the link for a community member is a different link. If you're a community college student, it's CARECENLA.SimplyBookMe. If you're a community member, then you'll get service from other CARECEN staff, since this is only for the community college project. But you can still schedule an appointment for a free consultation. And we got on here a question, so I'll open it up. If you have general questions, please put them on the chat, or you can take a moment now to unmute yourself. I'll go ahead and stop the recording as well. But I did want to say one thing